This is very interesting. If you could go through those names. Cyrus Jirongo, UDP, of course, is the president, says he's vying for the presidency. Ekuru Aukot, you've seen there, also going for the presidency, Third Way Alliance. Kennedy Mungari was supposed to be there, also going for the presidency. Tom Boya of TC, Professor Michael Wainaina, an independent candidate for the presidency. Nazlin Omar was supposed to be there. Boniface Mwangi was supposed to be there. And Miguna was also there. So this is very, very interesting. In studio, I have Reo Chieng and Brian Mutia, a governance analyst. I have Gabriel Muduma, who is a political analyst. I also have Stephen Mogaka, political analyst. Also, the West Mugirango MP candidate that is with the Wiper party. Thank you all for making time for us. Sources have already told us about what has been happening there, and that they seek to consolidate a Third Way Alliance and introduce another horse in the so-called two-horse race. What do you think of this? I'll start with you, Brian.
Oh, fantastic. Hussein, when you listen to the big names that you have actually mentioned in the formation of a Third Way Alliance, some people dismiss them with all lexicons in the political cycle. Some will call them, you know, spoilers, others pretenders, others will call them dark horses. All those names, you know, all trying to demean them. But again, when you listen to them, they are all big talkers, not in a bad way, don't misquote me, in the sense that they have a lot of ideas and a lot of energy. When you listen to Meguna articulating issues, when you listen to Ekuru Aukot articulating issues, and the other one, the new entrant, Professor Wainaina, they talk big in terms of the ideas that they have. But the one begs the question, how have they tried to enrich the ideas that they have within the systems that are existing? While Article 38 of the Constitution, of course, gives them the leeway to form political parties and endear themselves within the political space, I also find it a little bit interesting if they have not really tried to infuse the ideas, the political ideas in terms of policies within the structures that are existing, the systems that are existing, so that we could see at least them contributing towards the political space in shaping the political landscape of the day in terms of ensuring that we have economic growth, we have expanded democratic space, and so on and so on. And therefore, one would not also wish them away, Hussein. They still have something that they can actually tune in terms of the skills. But again, we always say, give me a phase on the political formation of the Third Way Alliance, and I'll tell you the direction they are taking. We cannot run away from the fact that politics in Kenya coalesce, you know, around, you know, personalities based on ethnicity and all that. And again, if the moment you put a face on the third way, I think I'll be able now to comment that further on another day.
Yeah, because I'm saying that we should not read so much into it, but we'll see in the days to come.
Sure.
Ray, I mean, what impact do you think this will have? And is it possible, what they're trying to do?
Hussein, if we'll call the Third Alliance a horse, then the two other outfits are unicorns. and again, to go further, Hussein, in terms of Ekuru Aukot seems to be a little bit very confused, and I think Third Alliance, if that concept is as coined is existing, then it is an outfit that is a good concept but with very wrong people.
Why?
Look at Miguna, who is an integrity pontiff, who is a champion of integrity, actually the Pope of integrity. So you wonder if he can sit with us on the same table with Jirongo, and you know Miguna backlashes on everybody. So I wonder whether Miguna has also vetted the Third Alliance, because he only works, he's a Puritan. So I also question his ideology. So these are a very great concept if it exists, but it has got very.
You don't think Miguna and Jirongo can work together?
Because Hussein, you've called Miguna on shows. You've seen what he says about every politician, and we also know the history of Jirongo. Actually, let me not talk it personally, but in terms of what Jirongo has been portrayed in the media. So Jirongo is one of those people that Miguna may hang. On his first 90 days, actually on the first day, he may even be hanging Jirongo. So I don't know even how they are sitting together. So Hussein, in terms of the concept, I look at these people angling themselves for government jobs, some of them. Some of them are trying to throw themselves for popularity and make sure that their names are known in this country. So, but as a matter of fact, what you've asked me, Whether they're going to bring any impact, I don't think so. And lastly, what I also say, for you to be a presidential candidate, and I think my colleagues will weigh in and correct me if I'm wrong, that in the nature of a presidential, the threshold of a presidential candidate, I was saying, you must have also been part and parcel of working with Kenya through some of the things that Kenyans are going through socially, economically, politically, and all these other facets. You cannot rise up today, Hussein, and say that you're a presidential candidate. What have you been saying? Look at what has also bedeviled Peter Kenneth when he was a presidential candidate. People are saying, when we needed your comments on these areas, where were you? So you cannot just come. I think for an MCA, you can escape, Hussein. But for presidency, you are a joker.
Okay.
Thanks, Hussein. Number one, I think let's start by just a little bit analyzing what Ekuro has just told us. Number one, he told us they met for breakfast. It's more or less like a meeting that wasn't there. You know, it's more like it coincided with the recruitment of the police. So, I mean, he went to tell us that the word alliance makes him sick to his stomach. But as he moved along, finishing, you know, when he was actually castigating the media, he ended up by saying this is the real deal, this is an alliance. So he baked a cake and has presented it to us, you know, telling us this is the people to look at. Now, I'll be the first one to agree with what Brian and Ray are saying, that it is indeed a good option to rise at this time. However, who's saying let's give the presidency the kind of weight that it deserves. You just don't wake up one day, and again, I'm not trying in any way, shape or form to water down somebody's ambitions of becoming a president in this country. Things can happen. I mean, Kut has told us about Macron in France. So I agree, it can happen, but again, you just don't wake up and say this is what I've had for this country and I need to bring it to the people. I mean, we've voted. We have a way of voting in this nation, albeit the fact that it's still tribal. I would rather it changes, but we still have a way, a systematic way of voting. And you know, it's more like people are prepped by their tribal inclination. Will we ever get?
Isn't that the problem?
Will we ever get? That's why I'm saying.
Isn't that the problem? I mean, this is an alternative. How they're packaging it to actually change what you're saying. The problem that you're saying, that this country votes along ethnic lines, that, and you're saying we've had a way of voting. Everybody says we should change the way we do things. Isn't this the alternative? And
I agree, Hussein. I wish it was different, but you know, we've seen it back to back repeatedly. I mean, communities, I told you the other day, communities are not in the business of throwing out power. But the other thing, you know, Roy brought it in, which I think we should discuss it a little bit, is the fact that you need to have come from somewhere. Where is this somewhere? You know, somebody like Miguna has been in government when he was working for Raila Odinga. So at least him, we can say we've seen the kind of governance he can put in place. The rest, you know, really nothing much can be said. What have they done, you know, and what have they, you know, brought to Kenyans? What ideas? I'm not saying they don't have good ideas, but when were they put in, you know, into test? The other thing, I'm not saying what we have is currently working, but at least we've seen some element of development here and there. So bringing in another third force, I thought our good friend.
Okay, paint a picture for us, for example. How would you expect things to change in this country? If you have said, I mean, your own words,
right,
it's frustrating that Kenyans vote along ethnic lines, and if I mean, they're packaging themselves, and not want to speak for them. They're packaging themselves as an alternative to what we have in the country currently. How would you want them to come in? If they come in, you're saying they're coming in too late. If they're coming in, you're saying they have not been tested. How would you expect things to change then?
Allow me to tell you something that I said yesterday. I said in this country we have so much information, very little knowledge. Okay? That is the price of our instrument, Hussein. We have not understood how to elect leaders. And again, that is our problem. I don't know how we'll ever overcome that. Because look at it. How do we choose our leaders, Hussein? It is not through credibility or the ioness of somebody delivering a pure and a perfect manifesto that society can be grateful for, it's by the acclamation of the majority. Look at the Sonkos of this world. Look at the Waititos of this world. Hussein, are you telling me these are the best crop we can come up with? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. I would like a time when we sit down as a nation and say, who can we bring in and be able to shape so that Kenya can be grateful for that somebody who had the qualities of a true leader. Okay, we can say at least this person lived. We've been able to see where we came from as a society. We've been able to see what we have achieved as a government. No person left behind. Those are some of the qualities that I would expect us to get into a leader. Again, I repeat, it is not the credibility that counts. It is the acclamation of the majority. And I asked you, I posed a question to you the other day, Hussein. I asked you, if 20 million people come and say, Mogaka is the man, and these people are not knowledgeable, they have no clue who they are electing, just because Mogaka speaks their language.
Yeah.
How clever, how brilliant, how clever is this person? What are his leadership traits? Nobody will want to know, acclaiming.
And so my question is, getting an alternative, should it changes? Should it be the way to change those people you're saying, you're talking about for Mogaka's case? Mogaka, let me hear from you.
Fine, thanks, Hussein. I think my perception and reaction to what we are seeing at Jacaranda Hotel is that this is a group of people who are not able to fit in the two political formations that have come up. And come on, we are talking about the race to State House, and the race to State House requires a 50+1 majority of the votes cast. I am quite skeptical on whether the group sitting at Jacaranda is talking about how to raise the 50+1 and assume government, or is a group of lamenters who are saying the horses bolt and they have nothing to do about it. To be serious, for you to be elected in this country, there are 6 defined units. You have to be either in the ward, you have to be either in constituency, or a woman rep, senator, governor, or president. And for you to get elected in all of those positions, you need numbers. I look at those as elites who are cut off from any of those constitutionally defined electoral units and cannot garner no numbers, and one can only risk just describing them as people trying to seek attention, doing a catwalk to perhaps get invited to one of these formations. But to be more realistic and kinder to them, to get a 50+1 vote in this country, every vote counts. And
now that you say that, because I mean, again, talking to sources in this, in that grouping, they seek, for example, to ensure that none of the two sides we have already, key two sides, have an outright majority, but they would be needed ultimately.
Unfortunately, that is the very minimum they can achieve in the certain numbers. That is what they can target at. But after that, so what? Because then that forces a rerun. Then what are they maybe
because some have talked about this, and maybe force a rerun, and maybe now force one of the two sides to incorporate them.
It will not force, because a rerun is all about, again, the two finalists. Because
but it's still the simple majority, isn't it? Who gets the first?
Exactly.
So I mean, they could force either side to come on to talk to them and have some kind of agreement with them. And this is what they're saying. Maybe start small, join one of these sides, start small, effect change.
Sure.
And after a while, things will change. You don't think that can happen?
Hussein, allow me to delve on that issue. I think while you're speaking on that platform, to me is the ideal situation that they ought to do, by forcing a rerun and then expecting a sort of pre-packed with a potential, winner. But again, if you listen to most of the talks that they have been actually giving us on TVs and other platforms, if you listen to them, they have been very hard hitting both sides. They have not been showing any sort of soft spot on either side of the divide, and therefore that will be interesting on how they are going to gravitate towards whichever side on seeing that it has a potential chance of winning. And again, we might dismiss them at this level, at the presidential level, but I can assure you, once they actually they get some few seats at the parliamentary level, they'll be hotcakes. In terms of the political side trying to enrich their numbers, they have to court them in a way, and also the case of independent candidates. But again, we also have to ask ourselves, why are they finding it very hard to pass through the ceiling in terms of the political space? Hussein, you will agree with me that unlike other countries, Kenya's political space has been saturated with some so-called demigods, in the sense that they have been in the political arena for as many years as we can remember. And this has created a situation where they have become small kings within where they come from in terms of their ethnic background. And, Kenyans, and within that political space, Hussein, we seem to have created a situation where we cannot, the systems, the political systems and the policy system cannot allow others to penetrate and play in the same league. And that's why you see, for instance, if you go to France, Hussein, somebody rising to become the president at the age of 39, that's something that Kenya is far from achieving, as much as the laws that are existing are not actually going to limit the number of times a presidential candidate can actually quest for presidency. And I'll tell you for free, Hussein, the moment you curtail the number of times that somebody can actually quest for this seat, it's going to make sure that the political arena is only played, especially the presidency, by the only serious fellas who can contend and have a good chance of rising to be the president of this country. Okay. But as much as the field is so open, we are likely to see the demigods existing, and at the same time hardening that particular ceiling for new entrants to rise to the occasion.
Okay, for all of you, I mean, and this should serve as a final comment still on this matter. How best should they handle it if they're going to go ahead and form this alliance and coalesce around one individual? How best should they handle this? What chance do they stand ahead of the election in terms of what kind of impact do they have, especially in the presidential election? Let me start with you, Ray.
Hussein, when it comes to, let's not confuse between independent candidates and the third alliance. And you've heard even what Muduma said, that even the convener himself is not still sure whether they are an alliance or whether they are not an alliance.
Yeah.
Article 85 is very clear. All of them, they have a constitutional right to exercise their right as independent candidates or whatever they may want to do. But what we are saying in terms of the seriousness that some of these offices require, especially the office of the presidency, this is a serious position of saying. And you cannot wake up one day and just say that you want to become the president of Kenya. So the solution that we have, and I know it may have sounded that we are defeating, it's more of a very
I mean, I'd want to ask
apologetic.
I'd want to ask that question to you. As you finish, I would want to ask when you're saying, I mean, you cannot just wake up one day. When are you supposed to wake up and decide that?
Can I say one thing? Can I say
when are you supposed to do this?
So, Hussein, this is not a defeatist apologetics. But all we are saying, look at, when you talk about Macron, you talk about Barack Obama, look at in terms of the journey and even how they narrate the journey to the presidency. Hussein, Brian is talking about demigods. So demigod means that these are people who have been there, they know the institutions, they own the institutions. Then what have they done? You know, in Kenya, Hussein, you must address the institutional crisis that we have. What have they been saying? Have they contributed to making sure that institutions are in place to a point whereby when you arrive at the presidency, you remember at the presidential level, there's a lot of multi-institutional participation, be it IBC, be it EACC. So you'll find, Hussein, people who have never come out in terms of addressing policy issues, addressing the crisis that Kenyans are facing. So if we were talking about them mobilizing, Mogaka was talking about, do they even have the gravitas to mobilize Kenyans? And you mobilize Kenyans by what? Not only articulating your agendas. If you articulate your agenda without them having that touch, then you say it remains utopia. It's like missiles dropping from North Korea. But we believe that it is a very great concept that needs to be worked by the right people and it has to start early.
Very
That's
briefly,
my thinking.
very briefly, Muduma.
And I agree to quite a large extent. I mean, there needs to be a journey. There needs to be a story that you tell. Necessarily, when you're talking about giving the seat of the president a serious outlook in it, then that just tells you that you just don't wake up one day and, you know, say that you're running for president. People need to feel you. People need to buy to your vision, and not only your vision, people need to buy into your dream. And really, this you have to cook it for a long time. And that's why I was saying it would be better even if you serve in a particular elective office, so that at least people have a history. People can engage you. People can say, you know what, at this time you are able to deliver us from this. You know, I was arguing yesterday with, I think it was the day before yesterday, over the same thing about a third force coming in, because that's when I started hearing the rumors. And somebody was saying, you know, even Mandela just got out of prison and became a president. I was like, no, Mandela lost his youthful years in prison because of an agenda, of a belief system that he had. And when he came, yes, every system, the world could have understood if Mandela was to have said that he was going to be a life president in Mandela. Trust you me, people could have understood even if the constitution had not tolerated it at that time. The reason being that people were ready for such a person. But look what he did. He left a legacy, serving one time. What did Mandela show us when he did that? When he did that, Hussein, he told us that the credibility of somebody's coming in office will always remain superior than the longevity of it. So you're coming to somebody like the likes of Ekuro Court and the likes of Miguna, the likes of you know, the independent candidates. We were here the other day when we said the best thing, I think I was here with Ray and our very good friend Okoyo Amwere, when we were saying the best these people can form is an association. Because when you're telling the country that you're coming together because, you know, you got disgruntled from one party, and here I'm talking about independent candidates, you're coming together because, you know, you do not believe what NASA and what Jubilee is talking about. There is no way that the value system that you hold and this other person holds can be marinated together. Everybody has their own set of values. So really what is bringing them together is an association. And the other thing, we're saying, you cannot come really and find yourself in an association to come and ensure that there is going to be a runoff. I think when you set yourself to mind, you're coming to win an election. You cannot say that you're coming to a situation whereby you're going to spend a lot of money to traverse the country. Hussein, no. But you say, Hussein, you cannot come to ensure that there's a runoff.
Hussein, you're a champion of that alliance.
I know. Come to win at least.
If I can
No, you are it's because all of you have really been criticizing them.
No,
almost making sound that they stand no chance. They shouldn't even try to do what they're doing.
They're already saying they are
They need a devil's advocate.
you're a presidential candidate.
Run at least to win.
Okay,
Work on your speech.
Let Mugabe speak, then I'll talk to you back.
Definitely they are sympathizer because really, as I indicated earlier, saying every vote counts to make one win the presidency, whether it is at the first go or a rerun. And therefore, this team can seek to make itself relevant if it can look out and reach out to all those independents and try to ask them to do what it takes to force a rerun. But if they succeeded, they will still have to team up with one of these formations during the rerun. The better option would be to do so now if they can achieve the 50+1%. But looking at their faces, and if indeed they are true to what they are telling Kenyans, because I do not see any of them attracting votes that may make a major difference. Because comparing them, I would even recommend to them to invite Okiya Umtata, because Okiya Umtata has been seen trying to, you know,
that's what we are saying.
I mean, it would be a more relevant face there, and around him, perhaps Okiya Umtata might attract certain substantial votes and can, you know, do the crazy thing of seeking for the presidency. But for the sake of this country, because the presidency is a very, very serious matter, my plea to Kenyans is to give the presidency and of course all the other elected positions the seriousness it deserves, because this country can only be as good as the people who are going to lead it. And it is my prayer that from West Mugrango I do fit the bill to come and contribute to the national economy.
Okay, finally, Brian, very briefly.
Thank you, Hussein. You said actually nobody seems to be on their side, but I want to say that having listened to them several times on several occasions and different platforms, you could hear they have what it takes in terms of the ideas that they do articulate. Listening to Miguna, he has a set of good ideologies that, if well implemented, can take this country to the next level. As well as Ekuro, Ukot, Professor Wainaina, people have listened to several times. And my question is, if they have never been able now to, put all those ideas together and ensure that they contribute effectively towards advising the systems of the day in terms of policy, that to me would be a plus to them. But if they have just been sitting on this information, doing nothing about it, I think nobody will take them as serious when it comes to them, conglomerating to have a job at the presidency. But again, when you listen to somebody saying that they might try to force a rerun, so what? For what purpose would they force a rerun? To me, I would want to say that if they feel that they have good ideas that can catapult this country to the next level, they ought to package that idea, work with the systems that are existing as much as they have the political right to exist. But again, how do you enrich the systems of governance that are existing? As much as I have these ideas which I'm sharing with the whole of the country, I ought to also be in a position to ensure that I find my way towards ensuring these are enriched in the policy systems of this country to give a better Kenya. And that's what we want as a country, Hussein.
All right. Thank you so much. That is Brian Mutie, is a governance analyst. Thank you, Gabriel Muduma, political analyst. Rio Ching, also a governance analyst. And Stephen Mogaka, political analyst and also MP candidate for the Wiper Party for West Mugirango. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Well, IBC again, as we told you, begins the voter verification exercise this morning. It's to last for the next 30 days. You can go now.